Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Silicon Nubian web channel, where all things tech are discussed, critiqued, dissected, and whatnot. Today we have another Linux review, the Linux distribution of an up-and-coming distribution, one that people I think should keep an eye on. This is called Elementary Linux, and we have today version 0.3, also called Freya under the microscope. Elementary Linux started its life very similar to how PC Linux started. While Linux started out as a set of enhancements for Ubuntu Linux and quickly moved on to become, in its own right, its own distribution. Moved away a lot from Ubuntu in many different ways, yet still maintains a base of Ubuntu Linux, which is very, very important and very smart idea. You can maintain the use of the Ubuntu repositories, which has tons of software, one of the best selections around, the user base, the support, and whatnot. One of the claim to fame, though, of Elementary OS and what sets it apart from Ubuntu and the Ubuntu derivatives is the use of the GUI called Pantheon. This is the brainchild of the developers of Elementary OS, and while it may be available, I'm told, in a few other distributions such as Arch Linux or OpenSUSE, and I can't confirm or deny that, this is just what I've heard, Pantheon is the brainchild of the developers of Elementary OS. And as such, if you want the latest version, the latest updates and whatnot, fixes, enhancements and whatnot, Elementary OS will see it first. In front of you, we have the login page, one of the most beautiful I've seen in a long time, and in its default state. We have a little toolbar for power, language, and whatnot. You'll notice that post install, and this has been installed here in a virtual VM. We have two users. We have my user that I create for these videos and testing out Linux distributions, and guest session. Very interesting. We have a guest session already set up and ready out of the box. You notice when I click on guest session, it's got a different background. It changes. I like the transition there, how this moved up and whatnot. The little touches are what really set Elementary OS apart, not just its use of a different GUI, which you'll find soon is very aesthetically pleasing and yet quite functional, but also in the small touches that make things really pleasant. We'll just call it that. But we're interested in going into the desktop and giving it a look. So let's log in. Right away, people will look at this and say, whoa, that's really OS X-ish. Well, yes, it looks a little bit like OS X, but it has significant differences. We have the launcher / icon bar at the bottom. We have the fixed toolbar at the top, which has stuff, for example, your sound settings. Of course, the dialog will come up. Networking, amount of battery, let's say, notifications, of course, power. Where it departs is the applications menu. This is very GNOME reminiscent, or reminiscent of GNOME. And that's one of the things that you'll notice about Elementary OS is that the developers have sought to combine some of the best elements that they found out there in the different GUIs and Linux distributions and have packaged them. There are three main goals of the developers as far as I can see or know about. A, aesthetics. Elementary OS has to be aesthetically pleasing, and that it is, and you'll see as we go along in looking at the applications. Performance on lower end hardware. Elementary OS, one of its claims to fame also is low system resources. So Elementary OS can run in lower end hardware. Lower end, in my opinion, would be like a Core 2 Duo system, maybe 2 gigs of RAM and whatnot. I would love to try this on real hardware, and I think I'm going to have to make it one of my goals to do that in the near future. The third thing that the developers want to push for is the reduction as much as possible of any reliance on the command line. They want to make users not have to use the command line. And this is obviously more focused for brand new users to Linux. And I'll just say right off the bat that Elementary OS in of itself is actually pretty good for brand new people coming to Linux. I'm noticing a lot of Linux distributions out there now, because of their level of spit and polish, have become a lot more viable options for newbies who are jumping the OS X or Windows bandwagon and wanting to just give Linux a try. OS X or Windows, and coming over, swimming across the pond and coming to the Linux side of things. And I think this definitely one to watch. But so let's continue. We'll start. We have the applications menu, and I should point out that by default, Elementary OS does not ship with a lot of applications. Some of them are custom built, as we'll see, but whatever is there is not much. You won't see an Office suite. You won't see a host of games and whatnot. I like this. I like having a system that's lean and mean, and you can pretty much tailor it application-wise the way that you want to tailor it. You'll notice that there's probably a page and a quarter or a page and a third of applications. Midori is the default web browser. Fantastic browser, extremely fast. Not necessarily supported as much by plugins and whatnot as the Chromiums and the Firefoxes, but you know what? Those are just a click away, and we'll see the software center and how easy it is to get new software. But Midori is a very nice browser. I like it. I love the speed of it. It's clean, and that's the thing too. It follows the whole mantra of Elementary OS in clean, very functional, aesthetically pleasing computing experience. More applications. Some applications are custom designed or skinned by the Elementary OS team. We have the music player. Very simple, deceptively so. And we have, I'll show you what I mean. Here's the photos. Now, if you didn't read the caption, you wouldn't know that I'm in a different application. Consistency of how it's presented to you is one of the hallmarks of this. And they've really spent a lot of time. I'll say right out, I'm very impressed with how the developers have spent the time for the little touches. Consistency is how I see consistency. It's the application of many small touches to make everything, the larger whole, appear just more coherent and cohesive. And they've done that to quite a good extent here. Scratch is their notepad, but they call it Scratch. I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, this is one of the developers' tools that they have done themselves in-house. There's some story about how they build these apps to lower dependencies and whatnot. They've done a very good job. I won't get into technicality of that. This is more a review of the user experience as opposed to the guts of the system. We have, of course, the document viewer. Quite simple. We have, sorry about that. We have, of course, video player. No videos are playing. We have, of course, the almighty terminal. You know, as much as they want users to not necessarily use the terminal still has to be there, because they can't, I don't believe any Linux distribution should just take anything like that away. Of course it has to be there. What am I saying? It also will appeal to the more advanced Linux user who's used to the Ubuntu way of doing things. The terminal is there for you. Here we have the software updater. If you look carefully, it's looking at certain PPAs. It's also looking at Ubuntu archives. I believe that they also maintain their own small archive of small amount of software that they custom built for this Linux distribution. The software update is obviously showing us that there's a few things to update. Not that much. System settings, elementary base, and it works quite well. My understanding too is that the updater will run in the background and inform you when an update is necessary. Yes, automatically check for updates daily. Updates daily when there's security updates, display immediately. When there are other updates, only display weekly. Sensible. Sensible. Get rid of that. We'll go to the Software Center. This is where people are going to spend a lot of their time, at least initially, because as I'll reiterate, Elementary OS does not ship with tons of software. I think they've made the right decision in not doing that, knowing that they have this incredible Software Center here. Here we have the categories, of course. I can go to Internet. I can go to web browsers. Right away, I can see the Firefox and Chromium are there. If I click on Chromium, I can get more info. There's certain add-ons I can have while installing Chromium, of course, extensions for it and whatnot, reviews. And to install is just click here and it'll do its work for me. If I want LibreOffice, I can look for it if I want, or I can just there it is, LibreOffice base, and LibreOffice Impress and whatnot. Very quite easy to install pretty much anything I want. Of course, it's showing me what's new. I see UVoice. I see some software even has a price behind it, very small. I mean, that's up to you. VPN, well, not a very good rating, right? And that's just something that new users and seasoned users are going to do. They're going to come in here, they're going to look at the ratings, they're going to have an idea of what the software is. One of the main stumbling blocks to people who come over from OS X and Windows to Linux is the naming convention of the software, because is not necessarily a quote-unquote Windows equivalent. There is a Windows equivalent in functionality nowadays in Linux, pretty much everything, but the naming convention and the name of the software might be different. One of the things that something like this great Software Center does is you can go to the category and you could see exactly what you're installing, even if you maybe not be familiar with the actual name. K-Music Play, for example, Gparted, VLC, of course, that's on the Windows side as well. Firefox, GLC, Thunderbird, VLC, sorry, Thunderbird. Those also are on the Windows side, but there's a plethora of very high quality software available on the Linux side that doesn't have a Windows equivalent. And software centers like this will allow new users to really start getting their feet wet into what Linux has to offer with respect to software, which is a lot. So that's it for over there. When we go to the settings panel, we'll see a typical settings panel. Maybe not as feature full as the setting panels you'll see, for example, in OpenSUSE with YAS and YAS2 and whatnot, but it doesn't have to be. What they have here, and it goes with their mantra, simplicity and aesthetics. And you have everything needed to run your system effectively. You have your printers, of course, your sound, of course, displays if you want to change resolutions and whatnot, your networking. It's all here. It's all there. And you really don't need any more to have a functional desktop. As we go down more to the launcher/icon bar, we see a few other things. The calendar, of course. We have their email app, which I haven't configured. Music player, video player, pictures. I'm doing this on purpose because this icon here is a GNOME kind of feature. I've seen it in GNOME, but here it's really it's the multitasking view. It basically turns that you can look at all your windows. You can switch to which one you want to switch to. You can close which one you want to close. Um, it's really good for people like me who very rarely have only one window open. And this is, I wanted to show you this. This is the Pantheon greeter. This is one issue I've seen. I'm going to show you this because consistently the Pantheon greeter stops responding. I wouldn't have use for the greeter per se, but it stops and I can go back to the desktop. So remember, elementary, and that's something I can do consistently. Now, maybe if I run updates, because if you saw in the updates, the elementary OS system, there's an update for that. Maybe that will stop. Okay, and I really should try to run the update and see if that changes anything. But it is a 0.3 release. It's not a full 1.0 as yet. It's not beta, but it's in very heavy active development. And you have to be aware of that. Would I use elementary OS in a mission critical environment right now? I'm not sure. It depends what you mean by mission critical. If it's my daily use Linux machine, which is my main computer, I would probably use it. If I was a business, I would probably maybe not use it as the desktops for everyone. That being said, for home use, I think it's fantastic. I love the look of it. I really enjoy the feel of it. The performance is great. I'm planning on putting this on real hardware to really see what it's like. I have an old Sempron, single core AMD Sempron with 2 gigs of RAM, and I'm going to give it an install and see how it works. And I will definitely report back on how that has my experiences with that. I think that might be going back a little bit too far, but hey, all for the sake of science. So yeah, there might be little bugs and little hiccups. I've installed this in a VM a couple days ago, and the interesting thing is, and I'm going to log out quickly and log back in just to be sure if there's any major changes. And it's been running very well, but there have been a series of updates, and like what they call the elementary OS system. So there's been some critical updates. There he is, the greeter. It's fixed. No, it isn't. Look at that. Again, bugs. But that's the only one I've really encountered, and I really don't want that to be the defining thing for everybody. I really think that people should try this out. I don't have use for the greeter. I really, to be honest with you, I wish someone would tell me what functionality it has that I obviously need. But other than that, the system itself has been quite solid. It's been really solid. I've had no problems with it since I've put it on, and I've been using it for about, I would say, close to a week, pretty much every day. Just going in there and checking out stuff and seeing how things work and poking it around, and it's never really failed me. So I'm not going to take a point off for that one thing, and I hope you don't do as well. All in all, I would say that elementary OS is a definite 8 to 8.5 out of 10. It's a great experience. It's really nice to look at. It operates well. If you just want a daily machine to do your work, get your work done, do it in a nice, very pleasing, aesthetically pleasing way, have great performance. You still have that Ubuntu base. The developers are definitely paying attention to it. I would definitely give elementary OS a go. Kick the tires first. It does come as a live media, so you can run it, kick the tires, see if you like it, install it. If you have a little computer hanging around, you might want to give it a try. and tell me what you think. It's an up and coming Linux distribution, and I give it a try. Thanks for watching the video. We appreciate some feedback. I'm getting a lot of views. Well, sort of a lot of views now on my videos. Had the channel open for about a week and a half, and I'm quickly approaching 300 views. And my various videos, and I'd like some comments, some thumbs up, some critiques. There's a Linux distribution that's out there that you're interested in taking a look at, or me taking a look at, I'd be happy to oblige. Something that's a little off the beaten path, I always like that. So that's Silicon Nubian, our review of Elementary OS. It's one to watch and one to give a try. Take care, and thanks for watching.